think a far lefty can win a national election in this day and age? A presidential election. Do you think that could happen?
A far left, you mean like AOC?
Yes. I'm just whether it's what you said about Newsom, whether it's an AOC. I mean, do you think somebody like that can win a general election for the presidency of the United States in this day and age? I don't think so.
I don't think so either. To me, the Democratic Party is a ghost brand. You know what a ghost brand is? It's like Sears or, General Electric. It's still a company, Abercrombie and Fitch, but they've really fallen on hard times.
Yeah.
But they've been around for a long time. So there is value in, it's an asset, right? Because there are still people who know of the company, and if you could have somebody take it over, who's not sentimental about that company and, relaunch it, rebrand it. But it would have to be somebody who is unapologetic about calling them out. People have lost faith in the Democratic Party for very...
Bill Maher set Stephen A. Smith's show on fire with one of his most blistering appearances yet. The sharp-tongued comedian tore into Hollywood, the woke mob, and the Democratic Party for living in an echo chamber and refusing to confront reality. Maher didn't hold back. He came after the DNC with full force, exposing what he called the glaring cracks in their desperate push to retake the White House. Let's break it all down.
Now I got to get to my next guest. Oh, he's an actor, a comedian, a producer, a writer, and host of the hit HBO political talk show, Real Time with Bill Maher. The one and only Bill Maher is with me right now. What's going on, Big Time? How are you, sir? How's everything?
I'm not an actor.
Well,
Don't ever call me an actor.
I apologize.
I'm the opposite of an actor, like you. Actors are avoiding the truth and playing parts. We're real and telling what's real.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate I correct myself.
Maher opened with a scorcher, torching Hollywood's elite for burying their heads in the sand and refusing to acknowledge reality. But he didn't stop at actors and producers. Politicians took heavy fire, too. Maher accused them of stumbling through their roles like stage performers, pretending instead of leading, and failing to level with the American people about the truth. No free passes, no sugarcoating, just raw honesty. And here's the kicker: the party he set squarely in his sights might surprise you. But before we get there, let's hear his sharp response when Stephen A. Smith asked about Jimmy Kimmel's late-night return.
Insulted MAGA. That's different. And he didn't lie. He said what he thought was true, which I disagreed with. I mean, I gave my spiel about it on the show last week, and, it was basically saying something very different than what Jimmy said. I don't think he got it right. I think he's, quite frankly, in his liberal bubble, which is why, let's be real, those shows are struggling, is because they, I think, arrogantly dismiss half the country. They don't speak to them, let alone...
This is exactly why Bill Maher drives so many people crazy. He's not afraid to roast his own side. Unlike Jimmy Kimmel and his late-night buddies who thrive in their cozy echo chambers, Maher calls it like he sees it. Kimmel's world is a parade of die-hard liberal guests repeating the same talking points, with conservatives either excluded altogether or replaced by watered-down, safe Republicans who won't ruffle feathers. But here's the problem: that strategy is backfiring. Their shows are bleeding relevance, alienating half the country, and silencing the very voices that could have kept things real, raw, and unpredictable.
That's a problem. And in the liberal bubble, it had to be someone who was also MAGA, who shot a MAGA guy. My piece was just about how you can't even try to make sense politically of a lot of these people who committed these political atrocities, because they're just crazy. And it's I wish it was politics. That would make it a lot easier. It's actually nihilism. They don't believe in anything.
Maher cuts straight to the heart of liberal smugness, their cartoon version of conservatives. In their eyes, anyone on the right is backward, ignorant, and incapable of reason, a mindless MAGA zealot unworthy of debate. That caricature is the crutch Hollywood leans on, and it's exactly why Jimmy Kimmel was so quick to slap the MAGA label on a recent perpetrator without waiting for facts. It wasn't journalism, it was narrative building, feeding the storyline that conservatives are always dangerous, irrational, and guilty by default. Maher ripped through that hypocrisy with brutal clarity.
All over the map politically, they just want you to hurt like I do. And that's where that was. Jimmy had a different take. He's allowed to have a different take. He's allowed to be wrong. So, you know, some of this stuff gets put out there and then it becomes like the narrative. He lied. He didn't lie. His take was just wrong in my view. And he didn't insult the person that they were worried about getting insulted. And on that score, yes, I mean, I've been always clear about what I think about it. There's no quarter for people who forgive any kind of political violence. Once you start with, yeah, but you know, what he said was terrible. I don't care. Irrelevant if you think whatever you think of it. We don't shoot each other in the...
Maher doubles down on one of his bedrock principles, freedom of speech. For him, the rule is simple. No one should be silenced, canceled, or erased just for holding a different opinion. That's not America. This country was built on debate, disagreement, and the right to challenge ideas without fear of punishment. We don't burn heretics at the stake. We argue with facts, logic, and common sense. Maher warns that real democracy doesn't survive on conformity. It thrives on the clash of opposing views. Lose that, and we lose the very essence of America itself.
How do you feel about Trump's reaction to Jimmy Kimmel being pulled off the air, and his reaction? The first words that came out of Trump's mouth is that it was the left, and obviously when Jimmy Kimmel said what he said, Trump wanted him pulled off the air, even though it was the FCC chairman that really went about the business of making threats along those lines. What were your thoughts about all of that?
Unsurprised. I mean, come on, Donald Trump's been on the stage a long time. You always know he's going to go 100 miles an hour in that direction. You know, he is an actor who commits to the part. Man, does he talk about actors.
Maher makes a bold point. Trump isn't acting. Love him or hate him, what you see is what you get. No script, no polished performance, no Hollywood mask. That raw authenticity is exactly why his supporters stick with him. He doesn't waste time trying to charm the cocktail circuit in DC or impress Hollywood elites. Compare that to the left's polished phonies, career politicians and media darlings who thrive on theatrics, stage managing every word, every gesture, every applause line. Maher argues that Trump may be flawed, but at least he's real. And in today's political circus, authenticity is the rarest commodity of all. That's when the left suddenly starts screaming about free speech.
I would ask you this: when you look at Trump and some of the things that he says, what are you more concerned about in this day and age, Bill? Is it how the right feeds off of what he says, or is it how the left reacts to what he says? What has you more concerned at this particular moment in time as we just purview the landscape, look at our country and the state of affairs that's going on around here?
Well, I love it that you always, like what you were just saying before I came on about free speech, and you said, well, you know, let's be honest, the left sort of courted this a little bit because they weren't exactly champions of free speech. So you always have to look at that. I mean, I know that the woke people don't like it that I do that.
Let's be honest, the only reason they've suddenly rediscovered free speech is because they're out of power and no longer control the narrative. When they held the reins, silencing voices and crushing debate was standard practice. They leaned hard on social media platforms to bury stories that didn't fit their agenda, branding inconvenient truths as misinformation. Cancel culture became their favorite weapon. Authors, comedians, journalists, even ordinary citizens were fair game. But now that the shoe's on the other foot, they're terrified of getting a taste of their own medicine. The hypocrisy couldn't be louder.
The Democratic Party is a ghost brand. You know what a ghost brand is? It's like Sears or, you know, General Electric. You know, it's still a company, Abercrombie and Fitch, but they've really fallen on hard times. Yeah. But they've been around for a long time. So there is value in, it's an asset, right? Because there are still people who know of the company, and if you could have somebody take it over, who's not sentimental about that company and, you know, relaunch it, rebrand it. But it would have to be somebody who is unapologetic about calling them out. People have lost faith in the Democratic Party for very good reason.
Maher doesn't mince words. Today's Democratic Party is a ghost of itself. On the surface, it still stumbles forward, but inside it's hollow, an empty shell with no fire, no vision, no substance. There's no leader bold enough to unite the base, no message strong enough to inspire, no policy sharp enough to break through the noise. Instead, the party recycles tired slogans and clings to a failed playbook. Even its so-called stars can't stir excitement. Maher warns that unless they wake from this zombie-like drift, the Democrats aren't just courting irrelevance, they're marching straight toward extinction.
You also have faith in California Governor Gavin Newsom, did you not?
I love him as a candidate. Yes, I mean you're right. He's not exactly what I'm describing now.
Right.
I think he'd be a great candidate. He has shown in recent months the ability also to move to the center. He would have to do it a lot more, but as a candidate, he looks great. Great speaker, very forceful. Can be mean, which is really important, and he can do it. He also has the backing, or certainly should, of where the energy is in the Democratic Party, the far left, because he's been out front on a lot of very liberal issues, which I think is great. Gay marriage here in California and stuff like that, pollution, all sorts of stuff that we believe in. But he does have a long trail to lose the baggage of governor of the most liberal state in the country. I tell him face to face. I've said it on the show. He went too far.
Here's where Maher shows his bias. And honestly, who can blame him? Everyone has one. For Maher, it's Gavin Newsom. He clearly admires the California governor, often defending him and cheering him on. But when it comes to recommending Newsom for president right now, Maher stops short. And that speaks volumes. Newsom isn't just another Democrat. He's part of the system that already helped sink the DNC's momentum. Add in California's struggles with homelessness, high taxes, and businesses fleeing the state, and his shine starts looking like tarnish. If even Newsom's loudest cheerleader won't fully back him, why should anyone else?
You think a far lefty can win a national election in this day and age? A presidential election. Do you think that could happen?
Far left, you mean like AOC?
Yes. I'm just whether it's what you said about Newsom, whether it's an AOC. I mean, do you think somebody like that can win a general election for the presidency of the United States in this day and age? I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I mean, that's, anything is possible, and possibly it would excite a certain group of people who have not voted. What if 80% of Gen Z voted? Could then a Mondami-like candidate win? I guess so, but I'm not expecting that to happen, and I don't think it's the smart bet for the Democrats.
Sure, AOC and Ilhan Omar can electrify Gen Z with their fiery speeches and trending TikToks. But outside of that bubble, they sound like voices chasing utopian dreams rather than offering real solutions. They dominate headlines, rack up likes, and spark online buzz, but that doesn't translate into victories at the ballot box. And Maher is right on the money here. Popularity isn't electability. The far left may be loud, but they can't win national elections. If recent history has taught us anything, it's that screaming the loudest doesn't put you in the White House. Winning takes a grounded message that resonates across the spectrum, and that's exactly what the far left lacks.